We have been getting snow like all day yesterday and all day today. Seems like I'm just going to be doing even more shoveling today, and then it gets stuck. By the way, these scissors suck. It is Monday, and we have been getting snow like all day yesterday and all day today. That is my car. It almost looks like it could be like a small van. And look over here. So this is the van, and it is a high top, but right now it looks like it's some kind of double high top because there's so much snow out there. Definitely not going anywhere today. Still feeling a little congested. I do have some updated plans for the floor. So let me flip this around. Hopefully I don't screw this up. So for the floor, the bolts, I'm gonna need to get longer bolts because even with just that one layer of 1/4 inch insulation, I noticed that a couple of them were having trouble even just catching onto the whatever the threads for the holes that are in there. So I know once I get, you know, the 1/2 inch plywood in there, there's no chance those bolts are gonna work out anymore. So I'm gonna have to find ones that are like the exact size, just longer. And I'm reconsidering doing the double insulation like that, just because I notice on some people's vans when they do it, they have only a couple gaps, you know, low spots, so they just fill those in and then they do the extra layer. But for mine, it's kind of the opposite, and I was noticing that I was covering almost everything anyway with the insulation because it's, you know, it's the opposite. So there's only, you know, a high spot here, a little high spot there, instead of being a little low spot here, a little low spot there. So everything was almost covered anyway. It was just taking way more time and way more work to cut out around all those little high spots. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just rip out that bit that I did there. At some point, I don't know, maybe tomorrow if this clears up. I don't know when this is supposed to stop snowing. It's snowing all day today and then at least until tomorrow morning. But I need to go, and I've heard that art paper, I have to research because I'm gonna feel like an idiot if I walk into a store and say, do you have art paper? But I've heard basically big sheets of, you know, like brown paper or something, and you can kind of, gives you an easier way to trace everything and get the right size for the whole back of the van, and then that way be able to use that to then cut out the insulation and the wood and everything and make that a whole lot easier. So yeah, so that's my game plan. I haven't even gone out to see what happened with the glue to see if it's holding or not. Like I said, I'm planning on just ripping that stuff out anyway. So yeah, so that's the next step really, is once I can actually go somewhere, picking up that paper, and then look into getting those longer bolts. Otherwise, it is just winter wonderland out there. Another crazy snowy day. Doesn't seem like I am going to be getting anywhere to get any of the stuff I need to continue on the project. Seems like I'm just going to be doing even more shoveling today. Believe it or not, last night this was pretty majorly shoveled out. Everything was cleaned off, and now it looks like absolutely nothing has changed. If anything, there's more snow now than there was before. So yeah, it's Tuesday. Alright, back in the van. And as you can see, the glue actually in some spots seems to actually be holding really well. A lot better than I expected, which is kind of the opposite of what I wanted because I want to take this up now. So I am going to work on getting this stuff up. That's not kind of that's not bad. Yeah, it looks like that glue really just like froze. I don't think it definitely tried to hold it down, but I mean on there you can't even see, nothing even got ripped off when I ripped this off the glue. So it tried to hold down, but it is, I think the glue just kind of like froze. So I'm going to get some of this ripped up here. I am going to take out one of these bolts so I can take it to the store with me and try to find something that matches it. Basically exactly the same, just longer, so that way once I get the wood down and everything, it'll actually still reach all the way through to the spot that it currently reaches down to. Alright, so I'll get this ripped up, get a bolt out, and we will head off to Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. Alright, so at Home Depot, I think these are the ones I need. They seem to match up pretty well. The only issue is my stupid ass forgot to count how many I need to buy. So I might just be getting one to go test, and then when I'm ready later I'll have to get more. Alright, so this is actually called builder's paper, not art paper. So if you walk into a store, definitely don't use the term art paper. So it is time to, well, real quick, head to the grocery store, and then I'm going to go test out. I only bought one of those bolts just to make sure that it actually fits. So this one I got 5/16, and then it's 2 inches long. It looks like it's basically the exact same size head and whatever this is, but like the width of it. But the ones that are currently in there, the black ones, I think were about 1 inch long, and then the white ones are shorter than that. This is a 2 inch long one. So I'm hoping that using this, it'll be able to give me at least enough, if not more than enough, room to, you know, once I get the floor in there, put that down on top and have that go all the way down, catch those threads, and actually hold everything in place. Alright, so testing this out, and it gets in there a tiny bit for the first like turn or two, and then it gets stuck, and that is the same for here as well. So I'll have to find something a tiny bit smaller, because if I do it with, let's see, here's the black one here, and that one, it just goes right down. So glad I didn't buy a ton of those, but I will have to go back and find different ones at some point. But I think for right now, I'm really just going to focus on doing the outline of everything, the tracing out, so that way I can eventually start doing the insulation and the actual wood floor. Alright, so it is Thursday morning. I have to leave for work very soon, but I just wanted to come out here. So basically, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with all this wood while I'm tracing the floor. So I was thinking taking this and putting it up there, but now that I'm actually out here, I don't see how that is going to fit, either going across or up and down. So I think I'm going to have to do something else. I don't want to just have it laying out in the snow. So I'm thinking, we're going to get more snow again this weekend, so, and we still have a ton, basically nothing has melted. So I'm thinking maybe tonight, while we still don't have any more snow coming down, I will just put it somewhere over there near my little car, and that way only one edge will be touching the snow, and I can just lean it up against the car, so it's not too bad. And then try to trace everything tonight, have it all traced, and then get the wood back in here so it's not getting all wet out there and possibly messed up. And then from there, it's just a matter of dealing with the snow and the cold and cutting the wood and staining it and all that. Alright guys, it is Friday. So I didn't end up doing the tracing and all that the other night because I knew I would be working with just a limited amount of time by the time I get home from work and eat and everything. I knew that it kind of had to be done in one shot, otherwise I would end up partially tracing it and having to put the wood back in there. And I don't know exactly how durable this paper is, if it would, you know, withstand having the wood on top of it, or if it would end up ripping. So I decided to wait until Saturday morning, tomorrow morning, and then I will have the whole day to do all that project.
So right now I am running around doing all my other stuff to make sure that tomorrow is like totally clear and I can just work on that floor all day. So I just picked up an extension cord. That way I can run a small heater out there for, if I don't know exactly how warm it has to be for like the staining part. But I know it has to be at least somewhat warm for if I want to glue the insulation onto the wood before putting it down. So I want to be warm for that. And then also it would help me out with then, the further projects in the future as far as sealing everything. And then also be able to run the tools out there for cutting into things and all that. So I got that. And then I have some more running around to do, and then head home for tonight. And then tomorrow wake up early and get to work on that floor. All right, it is Saturday morning. It is cold again. Still got tons of snow here, and now also lovely ice. So what I am doing right now, I was planning on immediately jumping into tracing out that floor and stuff, but real quick I am going to take out a couple of those bolts, take them over to Lowe's, and have somebody look at them, because that's really going to determine the exact way that I do the floor. If I can get the bolts that are the right size and are long enough and fit in there and everything, I'm gonna, when I'm tracing the floor, I'm gonna have to mark out where all those bolts are to put those holes into the floor. If I can't get those types of bolts, if for some reason they're like only made by Nissan, that exact type of thread on them, and there's no way I'm gonna get anything else in there, I guess I'm just gonna have to settle for just gluing the floor down, because there's I don't feel like drilling a whole bunch of new holes into the floor when there's already a bunch of holes in there anyway. So I'm gonna take out those bolts, quick run over there, find somebody to talk to, see if they have any idea of what exact bolt size and type and everything that I would need, and then run back here and get to work. All right, so here we are, talk to a guy here. So we are going with the 8mm there, 825 I think he said. Yeah, it's got this cool little testing figure, 8 by 1.25. So going with that, and then also got Walter's just getting the 1-pack for now to test it out. You can see it is a good deal bigger than that, so I'm hoping that works out, and that's plenty long enough to fit through the wood and everything else. So let's go test it out. Alright, so here we are. It is fitting. Don't have a screwdriver with me right now, so I'm just screwing it by hand, see how far down we can get here. It's just still going, so that is great. I was worried that maybe at the bottom of it would have something that would stop it, so only something the exact size would like fit or something, but this, so that was where the black screw was, which used to hold down those random D-rings. So let me get this back out of here, and then we'll test out that hole, which is where the white one is. And if it fits just the same over there, then we are good to go, and I can start working on getting the wood and everything out of here, and then tracing everything out and marking down where all these bolts are, and then start working on that wood. Alright, so here we are. So as you can see, this one has that screw top kind of a style instead of the hex bolt like the other ones, which I don't really care. I mean, as long as it fits. I told the guy, he was like, oh, it's not going to look the same. I was like, I don't really care what it looks like. I just need it to actually fit and be long enough. And so far, that has been the case. So it fits right on in there. And now the white ones always seem to be a little bit tougher to get in, and that seems to still be the case with this. It seems like they have some kind of like gunk in there, almost like they wanted to seal those bolts, but not really seal them, just kind of help hold them in there. Because if you look at the white ones, they have like kind of like gooey stuff on it, but it's no problem. That's just going right on down there, no problem. So these are the winners. So those are M8 125, and the length is at 50 there. which I don't understand the metric way of doing it at all, because the socket that fits on the bolts is actually size 12. So I don't know what the relationship is between the socket size compared to this 8, and then I don't know what the 1.25 is, because that's the length is the 50, so I don't know what these numbers actually mean, but that is the size. So if you have a Nissan NV 2500 and you are looking to replace these bolts with something longer to do a floor like this, obviously the length is, you know, up to you, however big you're planning on making the floor and how much extra length you want there. This is going to be more than enough length for what I'm doing. So if you wanted to go something a little bit shorter or something longer, but that is the size, 8125. Okay, so I'm going to replace these, at least just, maybe I'll just put these ones in there for right now, and that way it's one less thing to deal with. So I'll put these in there, get all this wood insulation and random tools and stuff out of here. I do got my little heater here, and I'm just running the van for a bit just because I don't want to, you know, kill the battery just letting it sit here in the cold endlessly. So letting it run for a little bit, charge up and everything, and then I'll shut that down and just have the heater. The heater is not running off the van. The heater is on the extension cord going back out there, and so it's gonna get a little bit warmer here, which would be nice, and then get to work. All right, so the wood is out. That was definitely the hardest thing to move out. Got it on a old keyboard stand, which is obviously not meant for 4 foot by 8 foot pieces of wood, but it is working good enough. Now I just gotta move that insulation somewhere and the other random tools and such. All right, so the floor is clear, other than just bits of snow and torn up insulation. One thing that I do need to do before I can trace is deal with this. I am planning on having the floor extend out over part of this, and this, especially right over here in this area, really, it's a big hump here. So I'm gonna have to check out what I can do about that. I think there is some wiring going in there that probably leads to the rest of these lights and everything. So I'm going to try to quick pop this up. Most likely it's going to be similar to the thing I popped up in that front passenger seat before. So just take a screwdriver and work it into tons apart and figure out exactly how much there is, like a seam here. I don't know if that's just from when they like built it and it's actually all together, or if it is possible just to pop up this one part. I still think I would need to take off more, because then there would end up being this lip right here. So yeah, let's take a look at that. So I heard a couple things pop along here as I was prying it up. Still pretty stuck there though. So I'm gonna go throw it on some boots. As you can see, I tested the snow out there, see how frozen it was, and my foot just went right down into it. So I'm gonna throw on some boots so I can just stand out there and work on prying that area all along the bottom and see where that gets me. Alright, so once I got out here on this side, it was actually pretty easy. A whole bunch of things just quickly popped up on the bottom there, and then you kind of just go back and repop a thing or two on the top, and then pulled it right out. So the good news is, it came out super duper easy. That wire is not really a problem. For the flooring, it looks like I can kind of just move it out of the way over there, you know, tuck it, and then measure out the flooring with the paper and all that, do all that, which is good because I don't feel like ripping out the wire right now. I would rather focus on other stuff, and then when the time comes to actually start working on walls and all that kind of stuff, then worry about ripping out all this stuff. And I want to wait as long as possible because these are the only lights I have in here right now. So if I want to do any work in here during the night, those are super helpful. And even during the day, because there's no windows in the back or anything, the only light is if I have any of the doors open or anything coming in from the front. So they're helpful for right now. Eventually they do need to come out, but not yet. Also, the only thing is that I'm definitely going to have to do something down here, because that, looked decent. The bottom there, that would have worked, but now it is left with just this metal screwed into metal stuff, so I'm definitely going to want to probably do some more wood, just use like the exact same kind of wood that I'm using for the rest of the floor and just put it down there going along that side, and then also along the bottom, obviously. But alright, so it's time to finally get that paper in here, start rolling it out and measuring everything. So I have the paper in there, not all rolled out or anything yet, obviously. Just grabbing some of the tools I'm gonna need. So I have X-Acto knife, cutting the paper. I don't know how tough the paper is. I figure it would be good. I'm gonna grab like a pen or maybe a marker for making marks on the paper, and something else I needed. Tape measure, because I know at least for that area by the step by the side door there, I'm gonna need the measure out there. And I also got to get some towels to dry the floor. I don't know how much water the paper absorbs, how like fragile it is or anything when it gets wet, so I want to completely dry that area out, and I'm gonna have to do the whole thing with no shoes on because I don't want to risk getting anything wet. So I'm just gonna be out there in socks, so hopefully that heater does this job while I'm standing on that metal floor with no insulation or anything yet. So gonna take all this stuff out there and get to work on that paper. Alright, so everything's all cleaned up, and you might be able to tell, but as I said before about the lighting in here, so right now I got the lights all off, and even though it is the middle of the day, it's pretty, it's not pitch black in here by any means, but it gets pretty dim in here because there's not a lot of light coming in. So looking forward to eventually getting those windows put in there. Gotta wait for those to ship. They're in back order. And then also wait for warmer weather to be able to use the sealant to be able to actually properly install them. Alright, but now it's time to open this baby up and get to work. Alright, so figure I'll just walk you guys through my logic as I'm working with this stuff. By no means is this the correct way to do it. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. What I'm going to do is bring this all the way to the end of where the white part of the floor is, before it transitions into this black rubbery stuff for the cab part, and then just cut out enough to where then I can slide this over to be up against that wall. So cut out that corner right there to match up with that gray whatever it is, and then just keep making little cuts. So I'll have to cut out around the seat holding metal stuff there, cut this area out going along, and then but otherwise I figure I'll start at this end because I use that door most frequently, so that way I'm not blocked in, but also because this is going to be by far I think the trickiest spot with the kind of whole general stuff here, because you got that area with the seats there, and I come over here. I brushed all the snow and insulation down there, so don't mind that. I'm gonna have to deal with the measuring that and taping that kind of together to hold it together while it's just floating above nothing. And then back here, all there really is the wheel wells, and then I just gotta rip this out of here when I get to the back because that's just in the way. Actually, I might just do that to start. That way I don't have to deal with it later. But otherwise, it's kind of just a straight shot. Like back here is basically just gonna be a straight line going across because I'm not gonna mess with this plasticky stuff because there's really just no reason to. So yeah. Alright, so all that stuff is removed. These ones down here holding the jack part down are the size 10 socket, which is the same size as the small white ones I checked out before last weekend, and then the ones holding this bag of tools and stuff, these each had one in them, and they were the same size as the larger white ones and the black ones, so it's kind of convenient. However, this thing that I didn't know what this was for. It was like some kind of rubber band bungee thing meant to hold something together, but I mean, they already had all this hardware on there, so I don't know why they needed that. So this was stuck in somewhere. I think it was like down here, and yeah, I mean, as you see, there's no screws or anything. It's just this plastic contraption where they just basically pinched it, shoved it in the hole, and then it opened back up and it was stuck there. So the only way I got that out was by just pulling it, and just be careful if you do that. Maybe have it hold like the metal part, but even then, when it came shooting out, that plastic just nailed me in the hand. So no major injury, obviously, but just a warning if you are taking this out ever. Maybe throw on a pair of gloves beforehand just so you don't have to deal with that. But otherwise, it's all worked out. Gotta shove this stuff somewhere just to store it for now. And then finally, I think it's time to actually get started for real with the paper. Alright, so just made the first cut. Some spots were a little bit tougher to get through with the, I mean, I got this here, this blade. Some spots were easy, some were tougher. But just so you know that the paper, that blade is going to end up going through it, because you got to really give it some push, some of the spots so you can see. So I think I'm actually going to grab a pair of scissors, and maybe I'll mark it with a pen and cut it with scissors or something like that. Not that I'm going to be seeing this floor anyway, but just so I know that I'm not destroying the metal flooring underneath because of this. So let me go. I guess I have to put shoes back on. So I'm going to throw on my boots and then try to not get anything wet in here again and grab some scissors. Alright, so I don't know how other people do this. I've only seen like the finished templates that they make, but this is kind of a pain in the ass because it's so big. I'm trying to get over in that corner to cut stuff, and when I get on top of it I end up putting holes in it. So I think I'm just going to just kind of cut it randomly, just going straight across, and then just tape another piece onto it when I'm ready to do the next section, because I'm just going to keep putting a bunch of holes in it and then not know where, because that's where the bolt is right now, but I obviously have to make more adjustments up there. So I'm just ending up confusing myself as to where the holes for the bolts are actually supposed to go. And I just realized that I obviously need tape. So once again, throwing the boots back on, going back in the snow, and coming back here. Alright, looks like somehow the only tape I have is duct tape. I don't know how that's possible. I thought we had other tape here as well. But I'm not running back out the store right now. So I'm just gonna use duct tape on this and see how that works out. Alright, just showing you what I did so far. I put a piece of tape there, push it all the way up the edge here in this corner, and then did the same over there and put a piece of tape. I think I am going to go ahead and use the box cutter blade, just because I gotta get in there to those corners, and the easiest way is just gonna be push it down and then cut along the edges where it's too high up, where it's basically going up the wall instead of just laying flat, going right up to the wall that way. And then also same thing over here, just cutting right along where that black part meets the white part there, and then move on to the next part. Alright, so not perfect so far. Just a little bit. I mean, it's not much, but there's a little gap in there. But this part over here, this part I do want to leave like that, just because having the wood that thin, trying to put it in there, I would be afraid that it would just end up cracking since it's only 1/2 inch plywood. However, over here, I thought I was cutting right along this. Felt like there was something going over there, and then once I took the paper off after I cut it, realized that there was not. So I guess I'm just going to tape some scrap paper on there to kind of cover up that hole there. Alright, so as you can see, this one turned out a little bit better now that I know somewhat what I'm doing a tiny bit. So yeah, just this one little spot here. This spot I didn't really need the cut going up there because the black stuff here is I can go right along there, and it goes pretty much right up to this. So I'm just gonna cut a straight line going across, and that'll be that. Put some duct tape over there, put that one on, And then over here, I just made a little note. The nice thing about this being paper, you can just write on it. And I just wrote, basically a little note to say, don't do that weird little dip. Just have it kind of go straight across there. All right, so let's cut that last little bit and do the next part, which I don't know. I might do the search for the bolts, or I might go over here. Well, let's see what happens. All right, so I got the bolts marked out on here for the first thing of paper. So I kind of just poked them all along the top, or in the case of new ones, along the the screw lines that they got on there, whatever you want to call them, the indentation parts, and then also just circled around them. Right there you can see a spot where I thought there was a bolt. Turns out it was just something else. I think maybe it's just glue under there, but whatever it was, it wasn't a bolt. And then here you can see that spot where I accidentally made that hole when I was stepping on it. But it actually ended up being pretty close, but not exact, so that's why I decided to circle them. So it's not just a hole, but also specifically circled, showing that that hole is supposed to be there and it's for a bolt. Alright, so I'm just measuring out for this sliding door. I'm thinking I'm going to go with 2 feet of open space here, which would be from basically right there at that edge to there. This chair is actually way back. It's like leaning way back. So I would actually, under normal circumstances, have this up much straighter. You can see how straight I like to sit in my chair there. So this would be up much more. So that way it's more out of the way. And then that way this would be a clearer path here to be able to get in and out. And the nice thing, since I'm designing my bed in like kind of a bench here, and then open space here, which can be converted into a bed, those doors will actually be usable. So this won't be like my one and only exit besides coming up to the cab and getting in and out. So yeah, so I'm going to go with 2 feet here. That's more than enough space to just get in and out whenever I actually need to use this door. But most time, it'd probably be just easier just to go right out there. And then this whole rest of this area can be usable space instead of just kind of a dead zone, because the bed is going to go all the way out, covering up that wheel well, and then there's basically, a couple inches there. So now, instead it extends all the way out to, actually all the way to right there, because the tape measure itself is not part of that 2 feet. So it goes all the way, basically halfway across this sliding door, which is really nice. That really extends the space where I can put stuff over here. Alright, just to give you guys an example here of why it's so useful to end up covering up part of this sliding door entrance here. So this is 2 feet here, so that's going to be the area just entering, exiting, and then this area all along here is now converted into kind of usable space. So the fridge I'm planning on getting is, just looked up, is a little over 18 inches width wise, and that is now more than enough space here, so I could put that and some cabinetry right in here, whereas before the fridge would have not been able to put over here at all, because the bed would have been there. This is just a big sliding door, and everything would have had to fit on the other side, or overhead cabinets, and this would just all be basically dead space over here. So now this is actually really useful space where I can put fridge, basically like right over there, have some little cabinet kind of area next to it, and then then going across the top of the fridge and the cabinet is more counter space to be able to use. And then since I am not going to be using this area right here for the exiting, entering sliding door, I could even then put a little bit more cabinet, overhead cabinet kind of stuff up there if I wanted to add to that. So it's really useful to do that. It is definitely going to be more work in terms of just templating it with the paper, cutting it out. Have to make sure that it's supported enough underneath there, depending on how much weight you're putting on top of it. But it definitely adds a lot more to this whole side of the van. Alright, I feel like I'm filming like way too much for this week's episode. It's probably going to be long as hell. But just want to let you know what I'm doing now. So I'm going to do this side, so that way going all the way across here, it'll be done. I'm going to kind of ignore the overhang there for right now. I'm just going to cut out as if I'm not doing it at all. And then once I have this whole section done where that overhang is going to be, then really once I have, I think, pretty much everything done, then I'm going to open up that door, throw on my boots, and be able to get out there and really try to securely tape it on there so it's a good template and I can actually see what's going on rather than the paper just flopping down or anything. So that's my plan. So for right now, when I'm cutting out, you're going to see that that's just going to be wide open. It's going to look like I'm not doing any type of overhang, but I will be doing that at the end of it. Alright, so this one, I think, so far has come out pretty good. I think it went a little bit faster than the other one, just from solely learning what I'm doing. Just got to pop this up here, figure out where the bolts are on this side, and do the same thing with making the little holes and circles around them. Alright, time for the next set down here. So what I'm doing on this one, I am going to purposely make this one stretch from, a little bit overlap there to somewhere along this, rather than cutting it short right there. I figure it would be easier to cut around rather than trying to have one just end there and the next one start and then having to deal with that angle just like being there. So I would rather just cut around the curve all along one singular piece instead of trying to piece it together along multiple pieces. Alright, so I will do that one there. Oh. Try not to die. Mark out the bolts. Do that one over there. Again, cutting around that whole ledge. Doing the same thing over here as well, where I'm going to purposely extend it so that way I can cut around the curve. And then, once again, mark out any bolts that are along there, and then do the final ones in the back here. Alright, so got this piece on there, got the bolts marked out. However, the tape kind of was like messed up over here, so I moved that, and now it seems like the bolts are not perfectly lined up, so I'm gonna have to keep adjusting it. Tape seems to hold decently on the paper, but I'm guessing because the metal of the van is so cold right now, it just does not hold. As you can see, I mean, this is duct tape, and it just pops right back up. So I'm gonna try to adjust that to get them back to where they were, because there's also a little bit of a gap there now. Not a huge one. You can't totally tell because it's kind of bubbling up there, but you can see that. So I'm going to try to get it scooched back over closer to that wheel well and hopefully get it taped down in a way that it will kind of stick there, and then get going on the other pieces. Alright, so done and done. And just this last back piece and then section over there. I do have to fix up one little spot over there that I need to add a little notch to. I'm also interested to see how this ends up working out when I transfer it onto the wood, because this can have ripples in it because it's, just paper. Wood is not going to have that. The wood that's out there, which you can't see because it's too bright. Okay, there we go. Kind of see it. That wood doesn't have ripples. So for example, if you can see right along where I have that duct tape, it just happened to be meet up where there was a low point, which most of it is low points, I feel like, which is why I decided to change that insulation. So it kind of has like this indent, especially on these new pieces I put down. So I feel like once I move it, it might slightly expand a little bit, and then therefore not going to be perfectly accurate, but I'd rather have it end up cutting it too big and have to just sand bits down and stuff than have it cut too small. So I'm going to add that little piece over there. By the way, these scissors suck. They're old. You can see bits of plastic are busted off the end there. Why is it not focusing? There we go. But it's just, I don't know, sticky and not very sharp at the very edge of it for whatever reason. So when I'm cutting the duct tape, it'll like cut, and then it'll just not cut. You see the points don't even actually meet there. They're just hanging out far apart from each other. So, whatever. those scissors I'm working with, but they're pretty awful. Alright, so I just want to quick show you guys what I do when I have to add bits, because I don't think I showed you when I did the other one by the seats. So what I did was I took a piece, it's actually a pretty large piece, and I'm cutting a big chunk of it off. I don't care how much overlaps, I actually prefer more overlap because then it's just more secure on there. Just tape it on there. I make it so it's more than enough, so when this piece was originally taped on there, it went kind of up like that. And then I just cut it just like I cut the rest of it with the X-Acto blade, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so as long as that tape holds on there, which it seems to be holding on the paper fine, just on the metal it doesn't seem to hold very well, then once I transfer this out of here, it should hold on there fine and be able to just cut it out when I'm cutting the wood. Alright, so haven't added anything yet, just wanted to point out something that I actually really appreciate about this fan. I don't think it was done like on purpose for like van builds or anything, but all the bolts are along the edges on each side. So that means all the bolts that are going to be sticking out, holding the floor down, are basically all going to be covered up by, the bench seat that converts it to a bed here, the kitchen area, everything over here. The only spots where you actually will see any bolts whatsoever are going to be these three right here in that kind of corner area. Just because there's nothing going to be on top there, because like we said before, that's going to be to get in and out of the door. But otherwise, I think every single other one is going to be covered up, which is pretty cool, because then you don't have these big bolts just sticking out all over the place, in the middle of the floor where you're trying to walk or anything. Just those three right there. So that's pretty neat. I don't know, just wanted to share that. I thought it was cool. Alright, so I think I might have been wrong about which was going to be the trickiest spot. So we have that bar right there that extends out, the wheel well, and then this line going back here, which I can't tell if it's actually slightly curved or not, because the doors are definitely curved. So I'm not sure about that, but I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get this in there and cut it out accurately without cutting too much off. But if I end up screwing something up, I can always just add some more of the scraps onto it. But yeah, I definitely thought that area was going to be way more difficult than this one, but I did not take into account the fact that we have this little kind of like cubby right here that I have to try to cram this paper in between, whereas down there you don't have to worry about just little seat cutouts. So let's do it. Alright, so this piece, other than the bolts markings, are done. It was definitely a pain. One thing to keep in mind, I started by just kind of shoving it in that corner there and then making sure that part was lined up and putting that tape on there. However, because of the cold, anytime I would move on this, it would end up getting pulled a little bit out from that wall. So I had to keep re-pushing it back to make sure that everything was staying lined up with where I cut it. So when I cut here, if it moved out and then I cut here, it wouldn't end up matching up if I pushed it back. So I had to keep making sure it was all lined up. Now I'm going to do the bolts for it. Again, back here, I decided to just leave this plastic stuff here and leave all this kind of area alone. That way I don't have to worry about going too far and blocking the door. Also, because it drops down here, this plastic kind of keeps it somewhat level, but then it just continues to go down, and I just don't feel like trying to keep all that leveled up. So I figure, why not just leave a little bit of the original van stuff here and leave that kind of area alone. Maybe one day I'll decide to add another just plank of wood back there, but who knows, maybe before I even end up finishing this, I'll end up doing that. If I go and watch some videos just to see, because I feel like I've never seen someone directly address this area. I don't even know what they call it, just the back door area. So I'll check that out real quick, and maybe I'll end up changing my mind and adding some paper back here. And then the bolts. One thing to keep in mind, specifically for the NV, I don't know about other vans, this area back here is the area where you have the larger bolts, but you also have a couple of the small bolts. So I have to be careful here what I'm marking so I don't actually accidentally drill holes for the small ones, because that's just gonna end up with just holes that are pointless. So I have to make sure I'm only doing the big ones. Alright, so I checked out some videos of some of the builds that I was already looking at for kind of inspiration for everything anyway, and it looks like they do have it come out somewhat, but there's not a lot of space in between here anyway. And the one thing is that this gray stuff is kind of already in line with the floor anyway, because there's a drop off here, so that kind of raises up. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to actually add it on up to covering this gray stuff right here. Back there obviously I can't cover it all because the door, you know, goes there. And then that way I don't have to worry about it interfering with the door at all, because I won't be going too close. And then I also don't have to really deal with any type of major drop off, because the this is level with it anyway, and then drop off is here when it gets close to the door, and then I can just leave that area alone and not really mess with it too much. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna go, maybe I'll actually go a little over the gray stuff. So I'll go from like this kind of bar here or whatever, that ridge, and just kind of go straight across, covering up a little bit of that white drop off part and going over. Nice thing is it hasn't really warmed up, but the sun is out and the sun faces right here to the back of the van. So actually opening this up to check this out is actually nice. There's a little bit of a cool breeze, but that sunshine is nice getting in here, so pretty happy about that. So I'm gonna add on that, you know, extra bit there, and then over on this side I can just know to do that from the start. So as long as it's not too tricky, I'll just do that. Although with how much of a pain that was, it might actually just be easier just to add it on. And then I am almost done with this template. Still got to do the bolts over here. Got caught up looking into this stuff for the door area. Alright, so got the last piece in here. Got to kind of touch up that edge there. Try to make it somewhat match up with the addition that I added there. Do the bolts over there. And then I just noticed while I was taping this, it looks like this is not quite matching up here in the middle, which is weird because all the other pieces did. They overlapped, and these are kind of just barely touching. So I'm just going to tape that up the best I can, and hopefully it all just sticks together when I move it out of here and it doesn't become a problem. Yeah, so I am just about done with this template, I think. So to-do list is fix up that, bolt, finish taping down this stuff, and then of course putting in the extra little piece over there, and that'll be it for the template. Alright, so got this more or less ready. Tried to find something that I could define as like a straight line back here, since there's no like wall that I'm having this go up against like all the other edges. So I basically just pushed it down and just measured, kind of just cut along where that kind of ledge ends, so that way it could be nice and even along there. And then I realized I just wasn't watching the camera, I was just watching my hand, so hopefully that didn't look crazy. And then just kind of have it being somewhat straight. There's definitely spots where it sticks out like there, and I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm doing there. I figured that'll be easier once I actually get it out of here and have it somewhere flat, and I can kind of put it up against something to make sure that it's actually kind of even, so it doesn't have these random spikes sticking out like that. But yeah, so with the door closed, it will basically, if it's going out totally straight like that, go pretty close. That, you know, is one spot where it's going to get cut down there. Like I said, that random spot that sticks out. So yeah, so I'm going to just clip that off. And then the last spot to do is the that little step over there, along with just taping down this spot here once I kind of have it more or less finalized. Alright, so that area is basically done. This area is going to be a pain in the ass. So I made the line, so that's 2 feet there. So everything over here needs to have that ledge coming out from right here, going across. But as I already learned from over there, this paper is kind of a pain in the ass to work with when it's not on a perfectly flat ground. So over there it had that slight drop off, and so it's really hard to gauge how far out it's sticking because it wants to just flop over. Here it's going to be even worse because it's not a ledge, it's just a straight like cliff basically. So it's going to be some trial and error for sure, and I'll just keep cutting pieces and duct taping the crap out of them to get them on there and see where we get. Alright, so only work with one hand because I'm trying to film here, but just to show you that yeah, this is going to be really tough because I can line it up over on this edge here to make sure that it is straight, but then over here there's nothing to gauge it by, and it just, you know, it wants to curve, it wants to drop down. So it is, so basically I'm just going to work on getting it the best I can, and then once I'm actually putting it on the wood, I'll be able to get a lot better idea of, is it straight going across, you know, here, or is it some kind of crazy curve going out or in or anything like that. Most important thing is just getting the distance from there going out and meeting up with the line there, so that way I make sure I don't end up shorting myself over here or shorting over here. Alright, so we're going with this for right now. It definitely doesn't look straight going along there, but just gonna make do, and when I am actually tracing everything, I'll make sure to check the straightness on there. Then I got it going right up to that line where I drew on there, and then obviously all the way butting up against there. So I'll just make sure that we end up with something relatively straight. But otherwise, we are looking good. I think it is time for a little break. Gonna go in, get something to eat, and relax for a bit before I come back out here. It is still pretty chilly out. Obviously the sun has come out, so, but we still got tons of snow, still real cold, but gotta keep moving on because apparently we're getting more snow tomorrow, so I want to get as much of this as I can get done as possible, so that way hopefully if I move fast enough I can get this floor more or less in today. Only thing I gotta check the stain, see how long the stain is supposed to sit there before you know, you actually do anything with it really. So I gotta look at that, and then I'll be back to get to work. Back inside on my little break here, had something to eat. So I'm just planning on how I'm gonna get the template out so it can go on top of the wood. There's no way where I can obviously keep it flat and carry it out there. I would need like multi-man team to try to keep it flat without it just flopping over and dragging through the snow. So one way would be to roll it. I like that option because it keeps everything together, and I would just unroll it to, you know, put it on top of the wood and trace it and everything. One thing I don't like about that is there's tape all over it, and it's going to be very hard to roll it and not have the tape to stick in a spot that I don't want it to stick. So I'm a little bit worried about doing it that way. Another option is to measure it out from, you know, end to end and mark off where the wood, you know, is going to be basically. So I got to figure out which way the wood is going to be facing. I think it goes kind of, I don't know how to explain on video without showing, but so basically mark off the different lengths of the wood cut it along there, and then just take it out section by section, trace it on the wood, and cut everything. I'm leaning towards doing it that way. The measurement just has to be like really, really good, because if I screw it up and end up cutting too much or too little, at that point there's not a lot that can be done. So I think I'm going to go it that way, just because rolling, I don't trust it that with all that duct tape. The duct tape isn't sticking well to the metal, but it seems to be sticking just fine to that paper, and if it just rolling it up, there's too much of a chance of everything getting stuck together and just ruining the whole thing. So yeah, so I'm going to get it rebundled all up here for the cold and head back out. Alright, out here at the wood. Always measure wood, because the wood is never the size that they tell you it's going to be. So this is supposed to be 4 by 8 by ½ inch. I'm not really worried about measuring that part, but I'm doing a measure just to double check that, and then that way then I can measure on the inside and start drawing up those lines to be able to cut those into 3 pieces to then cut out on here. Alright, so trying to hold this one-handed. I had to film this because this wood actually shows up here as being, just line it all up there again, right on the money of 4 foot. So normally wood is maybe ½ inch or so shorter than what they say it really is. But that was actually exactly, so I just want to show that. I'm going to measure the other side too, just for the heck of it. Really only need to know that side, but I'm going to measure the other way too, and then get to it. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is doing basically from here, 4 feet over, it's going to be 1 piece of wood. My hand is not actually a measurement, I don't know where 4 feet is. So it's going to be 4 feet there, going, well, the 8 foot length is going to be going this way. Obviously it's going to have to be cut to whatever length needs to be here. And then the next 4 foot section, same thing, going 8 foot that way. And then the last, whatever is left over, I think it's only going to be about maybe 2 feet or so for that last section there. Yeah, because it is somewhere in the neighborhood, when I measured it, 69 to 70 inches going across. So if I did the 4 foot that way, it would be all screwed up, because I would end up with 4 foot and then just some leftover at the end, and it would be all messed up. And then same thing going this way, I would have 8 foot going that way with some leftover at the end. So this way it only takes 3 boards, and it's just, you know, 1 chunk here, 1 chunk there, 1 chunk there, rather than 1 big chunk taking up majority of it and then having to cut out a bunch of little things to fit in other places. So yeah, and that way then I will also end up with some extra wood then, in theory, to then work on, you know, some of this kind of stuff down here. Alright, so I am going to have to take my boots back off, climb in this thing, and figure out how exactly I'm going to try to measure this. Hardest part is going to be just getting those straight lines going all the way across, because it's not all measured from the same spot. So if it was all one big straight line here, you could just take, you know, your tape measure, boom, take down 4 feet, make a mark, move it over a couple inches, make the same mark again, do it all the way across, and then one nice line you could draw across all those points that you made and cut it right out. But here, obviously, is a different story, because we have basically the 2 long points there and there, but then all this is shorter than that, so I can't measure from there to be able to accurately find where that 4 foot line is going to be. So it's going to be tricky. I'm going to try to figure out, and obviously starting at that end is no better because of that awkward thing that's going on back there. So let's just see what happens. Alright, so this tape measure is giving me some issues here. I noticed this starting today a little bit. It's not terrible. Like right now it seems like it stopped, but it just slowly is pulling in all by itself, when really it's supposed to be automatically locked, and then this is the reel it in. So you can see I'm not reeling it in, and it's just going right on in anyway. So that's gonna make this a little bit more difficult. I'm gonna see what I can do to work on that. If I can just maybe put a bit of tape under there or on there or something that kind of like slow it down to catch it or something. Or if worse comes to worse, I'll just put tape around the 4 foot mark on here, and that way it won't be able to go in there at all. And then when I am done with that, I will just take the tape off. Alright, so I got that tape there, so it's at least held in place. I got it all the way from there going here. It is hard to tell if it's actually dead on straight or if I'm going at an angle, because, you know, like I said before, I can't put it up straight against that edge there or anything because that's already cut. So what I'm thinking is I will use this. I have it going kind of somewhat pressed against the those ledges in here, the raised points, to try to give it my best guess as to if it's lined up or not. I'm going to measure out, instead of 4 foot, 3 foot 11 to give myself 1 inch of kind of like leeway in case I need any more wood, because I don't need all 3 full pieces of wood. I just need like 2.5. So I figure that would be a good plan. Another plan I am thinking about doing is, after I make those marks, measuring the distance from the top of that to that, and then subtracting that from 4 foot or 3 foot 11 and measuring down to make a line, and then same thing here, measuring the distance between those and making another line based on that. So we'll see where this goes. Alright, so I got some lines made up here, and I'm going to try to use this as my straight edge and connect those. I was trying to measure, you know, that difference there to measure out down there, but it was just kind of a pain because this area is like all like curved and stuff, so I wasn't getting anything perfectly accurate. I thought it was a difference of 4.5 inches, and then when I came down here, where is it? It would have actually been right next to this, except it was like over here. So instead of there. So I decided that that might not be the most accurate thing to do, and for right now I will just make this line and see where that gets me. Alright, so I made that line, and I realized as I was making it, this pen is not the best choice, I guess. I don't know, I would need something pretty weird looking, I guess, because anything that comes to a point like this is going to end up having issues, because I put it straight down so it lined up next to the tape measure there, and then as I was going, when I went up on a ridge, it would end up moving out that way more because there would be less, you know, pen in the way, so the pen would basically get closer to the tape measure, and then as I went down, it would end up kind of self-pushing back out because then it would get along this thicker part. But overall, I think it came out pretty good. So might not be the most straight line in the world, but it is at least close. And because I'm giving myself that inch of leeway, if it's off by a hair here or a hair there, ends up being a slightly funky angle, it's not the end of the world, because you know, I have that leeway, and if this one ends up being slightly funky because of the way I'm doing this and how it's going to be cut out, that next piece will be equally as funky, and it will just match up right along with this, so not a big deal. Alright, so I made the lines now over based on that piece. I'm trying to get these lined up, but it seems like they're just not quite lining up, and I don't know what else to do with it. I measured them both again, and they're both saying that they're 3 foot 11, so I'm guessing that it's just something to do with how much paper I put, like how far up I put it underneath the seat. So I'm going to take a look at that again, and I might just have to say screw it and settle on however it turns out. Draw a line between these and then connect the 2 sets of lines. One thing that kind of sucks is it looks like it's going to come up awkwardly here. So basically what's going to happen is this is going to extend over, and it's going to end up just stopping a little bit short of where it would actually connect with the floor again. So I'm having this in essentially one big piece here and then one little piece over here. So I'm gonna have to make sure that's well supported, since it's only gonna be connected over here, you know, going along this edge, rather than being connected going all the way around that kind of curve. But I mean, I don't see any other way of going about doing this unless I just move this whole piece of wood down a couple inches and then had another just strip going up there. But I think it's gonna work out fine doing it that way. Only thing is I'm worried about the straightness of that, but that's something I could always just sand down and jigsaw even when it's already like in here. So once I get all three cut, I can just put them all in here, see how it looks, and then make adjustments if I need to. So not a big deal. All right, so screw it, let's do these lines and get going on this crap. All right, so I got a line going all the way across, basically all lines up there, and got it going across there as well. So I guess it's that time to say fuck it and start cutting up this template that I worked so hard to make. Alright, so I cut that line using the that blade, just going straight across. We do have some sticking here with the duct tape, so that is why I'm glad that I did not go with the rolling option, because that would have been a disaster if any of the tape got on any of the wrong spots. So I am going to open that door, get my boots on, or actually my boots are at the other door, and then work on getting this out there and getting on top of the wood to trace, and then finally cut the wood and slap it in here, see how it fits. So it got real windy while I was in there working on cutting that, so just trying to move that one board, even though it's that big and heavy, it was trying to float around. So I'm hoping when I take off the next board and put it over here, it doesn't blow away the last board that's sitting on there, because then there's nothing, you know, holding it down, and I can at least have enough time to grab the outline, or the hell it's called, template, and get it out here and work on it. Alright, so I managed to get it out here, taped it down. I got to get something to trace it with. It is so fucking windy. It was not windy at all before. And now that I want to be out here and fucking cut shit. Windy as fuck. Alright, so we are going with the kettlebell to try to hold it down. That'll at least help with the wood, and then I'm going to add even more tape along the edges to help hold down the paper there. Okay, it's freaking cold and windy. Jigsaw is going good, I guess. I mean, I haven't really tested out, so I can't say for sure how it's going. But I'm about maybe halfway through it or so, and I realized, one, I need to wear some type of glasses, because that's the reason I'm in here, is because I got wood blown in my eyes because it's windy. And two, I did not drill any of the holes for the bolts, so I need to at least put something in there to mark those spots, because the template is kind of getting messed up between the wind and me now cutting all around it. Alright, so it is cut out, that very first piece. I went with pretty small holes for the bolts, just because, like I said, this was kind of starting to move around already, because I forgot to drill them immediately when I got this on here, and instead I already cut out a good portion of it, so this was kind of shifting around. So that gives me a little bit of leeway to be able to figure out exactly where to go with those. So this is my first time ever jigsawing anything. I think it looks halfway decent, but let's see how it actually works and try to get it in there. Alright, so it somewhat fits. I gotta get it, just gotta cut down that area right there, so I can actually slide it forward more, and then reassess again. I got a feeling that this isn't gonna fit right, but we'll see how it goes. Otherwise, I think that fits okay so far. We'll see how it goes in the long run. So, got to figure out how to take that down a little bit there. and then try to smush it in there again. Okay, one step closer. That is cut down. Looks a lot better. Still can't get it moved forward because now that one's not right. So I guess I'm just gonna take a little strip over there and see where that gets me. Tell you what, it is tiring carrying this big ass piece of wood back and forth in this cold freaking weather. But let's see how many more trips it takes. Okay, so it looks like I need to take off a little bit from there, and then still right over here it looks like it fits, but it actually, if you look down there, it is actually on top of that black instead of going right in between it. So I'm gonna take off another little bit there, and just make sure actually, well then when I push it that way, it actually is fitting. So I don't know, I guess I'm just gonna screw around with that thing first. Alright, so I've been in and out a few more times, cutting down some stuff on that side. It looks like this is what's holding it back right now. It's a little bit too tight right there. There's plenty of space here, or not plenty of space, but there is space in here for it to move. It's just to line up everything is too close to that black metal there. So I'm going to have to trim that down a bit more. Definitely getting closer. As you can see, it's pretty close to being in there. Just a few more inches or so, if that even. Alright, so past that last cut, it looks like it is fitting pretty snazzy in there. I'm gonna hop these boots on off, or hop the boots off, take the boots off, whatever. Go in there, check it out, see how everything lines up when I'm up close and looking at it from, you know, above it. And then, if everything looks good, I am going to take out all the bolts, including the new ones I got over there, and I am going to try to, you know, basically poke the drill down through the holes and see if they reach into the hole that the bolts are from or not, and then see what kind of adjustments I have to do there. I'm hoping that they all are lined up, or at least really close. I definitely had to make some adjustments to this to get it in there, so I don't know how much that affects the bolt alignage. Alright, so as you can see, it is lined up pretty darn good. There's definitely some gaps here and there. I definitely expected at least that, if not worse than that. Actually, it actually turned out halfway decent. So eventually I'm gonna get some silicone. I saw somebody use this on their build and basically go around all the edges where there could be gaps, and they have it apparently that matches like the color of wood, or at least close to it. That way it looks decent, and that will, one, make me feel better about my amateur cutting skills, and two, also prevents moisture from getting down there. So like if you spill a drink, it's not going to run to the edge and go under there and then have, you know, water or whatever liquid trapped underneath your floor. So I definitely want to do that eventually. But for now, it is time to take a look at these bolts and see how I did with that. Alright, so I got bolts out there, got it laying here. Looks like it is more or less in place. Just checking there. That's just a low point. You can see the ridge there, so that's why it looks like it's raised up. Alright, so the idea is that this is only ½ an inch. So I will take this in. This is the bit that I use to drill the holes. And I'm not even going to drill or anything. Just going to put it in, see, do I just hit metal or do I get into a hole? Alright, so this one was like dead on, went straight in. And then this one and this one, they were just a hair off, so I just kind of drilled out, you know, a little bit on one side to make the hole a little bit bigger towards that end, and then was able to get the bit down in there. So now I'm going to go over, I think there's 5 on that side, and take a look at those, see what we got going on. Alright, so far, on the first test, nothing on all these, just went down, hit metal. So I am going to have to wiggle around and try to find what happened here. Hopefully everything is close and wasn't like a major measurement error or anything like that. And then I can you know, just do the same technique I used over there to widen it up a little bit. If not, then we are going to have a fun time just searching for bolt holes. Alright, so this one on the end here, There's actually 6 on this side, there's 5 over there, and then 1 over here. So I just put it down there, drilled it just a little bit, then took it back up, and then popped this up just to look at it, and saw that looked like, based on where the drill mark was and where like the wood shavings was, the hole was over here, and I needed to move it just a little bit over that way. So I just did the same kind of technique, just a little bit more work this time to get to that hole. Seems like I don't know, something shifted more over here than compared to the other side. So with that knowledge, I'm going to take an educated guess, and I am guessing that all of these holes are also going to have to be moved slightly over to the side. So I'm going to begin testing that theory. Alright, so the next one, found the hole. So what I'm doing, I'm finding where the hole is, and then I'm also making it so I can pretty much go straight up and down with it. Because sometimes when I find it, obviously I'm going at an angle, searching for it. But I don't want to have to worry about that when I'm actually trying to put the bolts into there. So yeah, so I found that one. 4 more to go here. I'm not going to actually worry about bolting this down because it's not close to being done. I need to obviously put the insulation on the bottom, and I need to stain the top of it, and then also sanding needs to happen at some point as well to clean it up. So I'm not worried about bolting it down yet, actually. So alright, well, getting there. Alright, so all those are completed there as far as finding the hole and making sure that they line up at least somewhat. So I guess the next step is to take this outside, sand it, and then I'm going to grab the stain, look at the instructions, see if there's a temperature requirement, see how long it has to sit on there for, figure out if I'm going to stain it in here and bring that keyboard sand in and let it sit for, you know, if it has to be like a couple hours and it has to be a certain temperature, or if I'm just going to do it right outside. So let's check it out. Alright, so this is the stain I'm going to be using. Varathane. It is the... Yeah, I thought I had a different name when I bought it, but whatever. It's kind of like a light orangey tan kind of color. It's made by the people that do the polyurethane stuff, but I didn't want to use polyurethane because apparently it's not the best stuff to be breathing in all the time, and especially in your 50 square foot house. So I went with just regular old stain. Says you only have to use 1 coat. It's supposed to work 3 times faster. Only takes 1 hour to dry, so that's nice. But reading the instructions here, so it says, you know, sand it all down, make it all nice, blah blah blah. So then going down to stain application here, hard to read it there with the shadow and then the light. So it talks about using it between 60 and 90 degrees. It says apply 1 coat, with it, you know, brush it, and then allow at least 2 or 3 minutes, and then if you want to remove the excess, you can wipe it down. The longer penetration times will lead to darker color, so if you just kind of leave it on there instead of wiping it, it's going to end up being darker. Then remove all excess material, allow proper dry time and proper adhesion of top coat. Let dry for 1 hour, allow longer dry times for damp, humid days. So basically, biggest thing I got from that is 60 to 90 degrees. I mean, it says for best results, so I don't think it has to be between those, but I guess I am going to end up having to do this inside the van with the little heater running, because it is nowhere near that temperature today. It is, I don't think even supposed to hit 40 today. And we are already at 3:30, so it's not going to be getting any warmer out there. So I'm, oh my god, sorry. I'm going to go ahead, sand it down while we still got daylight, and then once I get it all looking pretty, I might even just do the insulation right then and there, get that all cut and glue that, and then I can, once that's decently dry, you know, stuck on there, I could flip it over and stain it and leave it up on the that keyboard stand, that I got, as long as that'll fit in there nicely, and just let it dry with that heater just blasting on it. Alright, so still kind of windy out here. The first time using my jigsaw today. Also going to be the first time using a real sander today instead of just sanding something by hand. So we will see how this goes. Try and make it quick before it gets dark out. Alright, so it is sanded. The main spots I focus on, obviously all along the edges, but especially near the that kind of step in where this is going to be sticking out. So I made sure to kind of soften that up so it's not this spike that's just sticking out there. Also over there, just going all along, making it so there's no, spots where you're gonna cut yourself on or anything. And then just sand it over the drill holes there, and everything looks pretty nice. I mean, there's not anything especially rough about the wood. Not a lot happened. I mean, all I did was just cut around the edges and put those drill holes in there. So I think it is time to get that insulation put on the bottom and get some staining in. All right, wood is in, the stand is in. Got this plugged back in, so that is gonna slowly start reheating things in here. Once I gotta close that window up a little bit more, and I gotta get this door closed, obviously. So I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit in here. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean up some of the stuff I got, like the sander and jigsaw and all that, and yeah, and then I will come back and start working on lining up that insulation and gluing it. All right, so something I just thought of, before I insulate and stain this, I should probably make sure that the holes are actually big enough for the bolts to get down into through the wood. So I'm going to real quick move this stand, put that wood back in place. I brought out these. The size, I think the closest non-metric size is 5/16. So I don't have anything like that. So I'm just gonna use a quarter, which would be like 4/16. And then if it doesn't fit, I will just kind of do that same trick I did before, where I kind of just ground around and around and around it to make it bigger and get it to fit. Alright, so I just grabbed one of those new bolts that I got. I don't have enough to fill all these holes up here. They only came with, I think, 4 of them or 6 of them or something like that. And I'm not looking to actually bolt this down permanently yet anyway. So I'm just using this as a test kind of a thing. And then this is my 1/4 inch. You can see, so they kind of line up there. 1/4 inch is a hair smaller, so we'll see how that works out. Alright, so hole successfully drilled. As you can see, it fits in there enough to stand up, but it is tough going down. So I think I'm just going to put the screw bit on here and just drill the crap out of it to get it down there. Alright, so this is actually kind of small for the size of that head right there. So I noticed there was actually some metal flaking getting on there, so I don't know if it's wrecking this or wrecking this, but I didn't want to keep doing that, and it wasn't really going very far anyway, so I am actually trying to now manually do it with this, see how far I get with that, and if not, I'll figure something else out. Alright, so 1 on there, and I don't know, like 8 more to go or something like that. It is a pain in the ass trying to use that manual screwdriver, but like I said, the head on that other one is just too small, and it's just going to end up damaging either the bolt itself or the actual bit in the screwdriver. So I am going to now take that back out, move on to the next one. Alright, literally the moment I hit stop record, this whole thing just went pop, and it somehow is not in the hole anymore. I don't know what the hell happened there. It's still in the wood, but it's not in the hole there. So I'm going to take a look at that. Okay, so it looks like, if I can get it to show this, like the hole, I mean, it looks actually pretty good lined up there, but from my point of view, it looks like it actually needs to be backed up to a little bit more this way. and that might be what it might be, trying to go in an angle and messing it up. Alright, so that is looking better as far as the hole. Bad news is I think I'm gonna need the sand again because I definitely am scratching the shit out of this. Alright, so I got pretty close with that one. Issue was I didn't film it, but it got down there nice and straight up until a certain point, and then once I actually got to the original, hole for the bolt, it started going at an angle, so it must still be a little too off center for that bolt to be able to go in nice and straight. So it's trying to go in and then just jamming up. So this is what I keep getting. It just it seems like it's gonna go in, and then it just jams up and won't go any further. I mean, the wood part is at the point where I can just drop it in there. It's just, I guess, not dropping it at the perfect angle because it just keeps locking up when I try to get it to go there. So I guess I'm going to drill. I'm going to try a little bit more on this side of it. It's not even remotely focused on the right shit. There we go. So a little bit more over here, because when I'm trying to put it in there now, it looks like it's angled that way. So I'm going to try to take out a little bit more wood there. Alright, so I tried lifting it up and putting it in just by hand, and it seems like it's either so gunked up in that hole, or maybe there's a bunch of sawdust in it, or who knows, maybe I screwed up and took out one of the small ones instead of all big ones. But I'm going to try just to get this out of the way and work on just getting it in there, period, without the wood even being in the way. Alright, so it seems like the answer was that just kind of gunked up from whatever they decided to put in there with all those bolts. Couldn't get it in there originally, and then I took one of the bolts. It's definitely the right size because I used the same head socket to take them all off. So to get the other one on was a pain in the ass, and so was to get it off. And now the other one, bigger one, can get in and out of there. I haven't tried it with the wood on top again, so I'm going to try that now. Alright, so it's just a pain in the ass. I tried it with the wood again, and it's still kind of getting stuck. So I'm going to say I know the hole there is big enough, it's in the right spot. So I will just move on. We're losing daylight here. So I'll move on to other ones. Hopefully they're less of a pain in the ass. And then once I have everything kind of up here on a rack, drying out and everything, I can just fuck with this thing, just putting in the smaller bolts in there, trying to loosen up all that crap that's in there, and hopefully then that'll make it easier for this guy to get in there. Alright, having a similar issue with this one. It ends up being kind of at an angle and not wanting to go in, and I scuffed it up even more, so even more reason to resand. Alright, guess I'm gonna beat the shit out of that one a little bit more and try to keep moving on here, because I would like to be able to at least sand it while it's still light out, and then do everything else in here. Even if it's dark, then not a big deal. At least one piece will be totally done. Finally got one in there. It was having the same kind of issues. I think what's happening is the sawdust, or I don't know, I'm not really sawing anything, but whatever you want to call it then, is kind of getting in all those nooks and crannies of the threads, and so it's getting just jammed up. So I'm going to test out that one. I kind of just blew that one out, just lifted up the wood and just got all that out of there, and now I did the same to that one, so I'm going to test it out over there as well. Alright, so that one still is not cooperating, so I just put it back there with the washer on it, just kind of as like a placeholder, and that way I can kind of go around and there will be a little bit less movement in it while I'm messing around with stuff. Obviously that side can still kind of shift around, so we'll see how the rest goes. Hopefully we have less of these and more of those. Okay, so that one having similar kind of issues. Decided to say screw it, come over here and start working on this. I noticed that there's a gap over here, and the only way to fix the gap is to take this out and adjust it, which means that this is not quite lined up where it should be. So I'm going to take this out, scooch this back over, try to get something over on this side locked in, so that way I don't have to worry about shit moving. And then if I can get under here, even with all the snow piled up out there, if I can figure out a spot that I can get under here, maybe I can look up and see where these holes are and just drill up through the hole to the wood. Maybe that would be easier. Because I mean, this is just taking forever. Like, I did not anticipate drilling holes in spots where holes are already drilled, and just trying to fit a bolt in there would be this time consuming. And I mean, as you can see out there, we do not have much daylight left, and I'm gonna have to resand this shit after all this because it has been nicked up like crazy from all this. Alright, so this was a hole that was probably the furthest off. So it started out over here, and it was actually down that way. So I just completely drilled like another hole next to it. So it's basically become one big one now. I think I'm still gonna have to get a little bit more off this edge here to be able to get the bolt, because this is pretty thin. Where the hell, I can't even think anymore. So yeah, so it's like a tiny dick and balls. Alright, so this is what look at that. It's huge freaking line. Hopefully that works. I'm gonna have to caulk the shit out of that with whatever kind of fake wood shit I'm gonna be using along the edges, because that is just a disaster. But that's what happens when your mark spot is slightly off and you have to just search for it over and over. Alright, so I lifted it up, kind of dusted it off, tried to put that in there even without the wood on there, and it's still getting jammed up. So I'm assuming there's just a bunch of crap in there. It seems to line up perfectly fine. So moving on, got those last 5 to do there, and then I'm getting this stuff sanded, and then everything else done to it before it gets dark, hopefully. Alright, so once again I had to make a big ass hole and put it in there, and it just comes up. So learning from my mistakes, I'm going to say screw it, good enough for me, and I will deal with it once the wood is up and out of the way and I can clear up those holes of all the sawdust. Alright, so my drill is dying on me here. I just have to finish up that one, do those two. So I'm going to go plug in and charge it. I'll let it warm up a little bit in here and come back out here. Yeah, I mean, if I have to stand in the dark, I have to stand in the dark. It sucks, but I want to get this stuff done tonight. So, alright, so phone's been on the charger and the drill's been on the charger. Drill's not fully charged yet, but it's been charging for a little while. I only need to go through part of that one and then the other 2, so hopefully it's got enough charge in it to handle that, and then I can just throw on the charger for the whole rest of the night, and then I can get to that sanding and finish everything up. Alright, so instantly having an issue. I don't know where the bit is that I was using the flathead end of in the driver to help it get those in there. So I'm going to just search through here and see if I have an extra one. Alright, so trying to drill. Seems like I'm going to need a hole out there. This is going to be the last one here, and for some reason the drill is just not doing it. It's just like it's only made this much of a hole. Every other one is done no problem. And now it's just spinning and spinning and spinning. So I mean, it's still running. It's not like it's dead. So I don't know what is going on. The bit seems fine. It's running. But yeah, I mean, it's just more wood. It's not like I am going into the metal here or anything. That's the initial small hole I was making, and now that's the bigger one. So yeah. Alright, so what I ended up doing was I took the smaller bit, used that to drill a hole into it, and then put the big one back on, and then I was able to finally get through there. Still not perfectly lined up anyway. It's actually somewhere like in between these two. So we're in with another big ass hole that I have to cover up eventually, but whatever, almost there. So freaking close. I switched out the bits thinking maybe I dulled this one the tip down too much from using it all day, but now I put in the next biggest piece, just figuring I'll make it work, and it's, you can see it's just making freaking craters in there. I can't really get through a whole lot, I don't know. I mean, it's not dying on me like the last time when it died. It, you know, it's kind of stopped going, and then it would start going again, and then stop going. I don't know why this won't focus. But now it's just not doing it. I don't know what else to try to do here. It's driving me freaking crazy because it just spins and spins and spins, and it doesn't actually do anything. It's just wasting battery and wasting my time. I'm really starting to get kind of pissed off because I know that I don't want to sand this and then end up sanding it and everything with this hole not being drilled to where it's actually going to fit. And I know that it's not just going to be like a touch up, like, oh, I have to adjust the way the bit fits or something. It's like I'm going to have to drill the hole. So I'm starting to get kind of pissed off. I don't know what else to do with this thing. It's driving me freaking crazy. The lights just turned out in here because I've been sitting in here too long and it's basically dark outside. So I am starting to get pissed off. Alright, gonna keep trying with this thing. I don't know what else to do. I don't have any other drill. So I'm just gonna have to keep trying with it until it freaking explodes, and then I just go and buy another one, I guess. Okay, so I tried adjusting all this all the way from the top setting here all the way down to 1, see if that would affect anything. Doesn't do shit. It's, I mean, you see it, that hole there. If this camera would ever freaking focus on the thing I'm pointing at, it's like the exact same size as before. All it's doing is just spinning, 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 and making it smell, because I guess the tip must be heating up from spinning so much. It's like you can smell the wood. I'm ready to freaking smash this thing because I'm so close to being done, and this piece of crap won't work. Okay, so I think my stupid ass just had this on the wrong setting to take it out instead of put it in. So that may or may not have been my fault. So more or less it's in there, just like the others, where it is definitely in the bolt hole, but it just gets jammed up, probably from the dust. So it is time to finally frickin' sand this thing in the frickin' dark. Alright, so sanded it real quick. Didn't need a whole lot because it was just any spot where there was the drilled marks. Already did, you know, the edges and everything, so that's all fine. Alright, so time to finally get this bitch upside down and glued, I guess. Okay. So, wood is in there on top of the stand thing, got the heater going. All the doors are closed, the windows cracked as small as possible to still allow the cord through. I have the, I'm going to try to show this here, should have used the other camera. But that's the glue right there. I got it right on top of the heat vent, trying to make sure that it's as warm as possible. Oh my god, it's so freaking cold out there right now. Oh. But I am almost done for the night. So, just gonna give it a few minutes to get the van slightly warmer, and then I will get out there with that glue and spray it all down. Alright, so I am out here. The glue is still in there, just getting nice and warm. I'm gonna come out and just get this all prepped and cut to the exact shape it needs to be. Unfortunately, I'm so close to the edge, I don't know if I can close this door to keep it warm in here. And if I do close the door, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it back open without like knocking everything over. So I'm just gonna try to make this quick. Alright, so it is all cut out. I have some duct tape on it that was just to help hold it down flat while I cut it, so I knew what I was cutting. Time to go in and get the glue. It is still freezing out here, so we'll see how well this goes. So I will just take off those things of duct tape, which, because the cold, they're not sticking very well. And then kind of just flap by flap here, since it's in these 3 zones. Just put them down, pick them up, put the glue down, put the foam down, and duct tape it back up. And then just leave it out here for a while, or maybe I'll even just say screw it and leave it overnight, and then tomorrow morning deal with the staining. I'm out here trying to glue this now, and of course this thing won't frickin' focus on. There we go. So this is currently just all clogged up with dry glue. It was so nice and warm, ready to go. I tried squeezing. I mean, this trigger was completely squeezed. I could not squeeze it anymore. It was squeezed to the max. And now I'm just trying to pick this out and see what the hell's going on. It's freezing out here, and I just want to glue this and go inside. I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing. I took it out and used that to stab into it, and then I got a little bit out, and then it just stopped. It would not come out again. So then I did the same thing, took it out, and got another little bit out of it. But it just keeps doing that. And I mean, I'm not gonna stand here and just keep stabbing it over and over and over. That's ridiculous. I don't understand why it's all clogged up. At this point, I'm just gonna go inside and mess around with it because it's so damn cold on my feet right now because I don't have my boots on because I have to walk all over the paper to be able to get in and out of here. Alright, so I'm back inside. I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing. There's still tons of glue left in it. I took the cap off there to look inside and everything looks fine. It's not like a frozen solid block. I just keep squeezing crap out of it. It says it has to be used above 40 degrees. It's way above 40 degrees in here. I mean, this thing isn't even cold to the touch, even like the metal, whatever the hell you want to call it, the metal thing that pushes it out. I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing. I guess I'm just going to keep squeezing it and see if maybe there's something clogged in there and it finally pops out. I don't know what else to do. Okay, so what I did this time, I took the cap off and then stuck the thingamajig there inside going the other way. Instead of going down that way, since I had it off, I went the reverse way and ended up pushing out a little hardened bead. So I guess basically every time that I used that, I was just shoving it back in there, and then I would get a little out, and then that hardened bead would basically move back up and clog it, and then I'd push it back down over and over. So this time instead I did it the reverse way and ended up pushing it out. So now I just did a little test squeeze and it has some coming out there. So I don't know for sure if it's definitely going to work way better now or not. I'm gonna go test it out and see what it looks like outside. All right, it is glued and I am leaving it here to dry and all that. And I think I might be done for the night. It's freaking late and dark and I am exhausted. So I am just gonna go inside. I'll leave the little heater out here running. And that's it. I am back inside and I am exhausted. Basically went from, I probably started like 9 this morning until now it's 7. So I am beat, and all that just to have one incomplete piece of wood for the floor. It's just like, damn. But I definitely learned some stuff, so hopefully the next 2 are a little bit easier. I would say one of the most frustrating things was definitely the bolts, trying to get those in there. I didn't even mess with those now that the wood is up or anything, like I thought it was, because it's just so cold, dark, and I'm tired. Oh my God. But the other thing is just dealing with the temperature, because I have to glue in the van, and I have to now tomorrow stain still in the van, so it limits how much work I can get done. Like when I'm staining that tomorrow, I can't really do anything else. I can't work on the next thing really. It's just gonna be sitting there taking up all that space, and it's such a pain just to work around, trying to get in there and cut the insulation to fit to it, and trying to, I mean, that could have been done outside the van, but it was already dark at that point, so I figured maybe it would be easier in there, but it was not. So next time I know, screw it, just cut the insulation outside and then move everything inside. But just gluing in there was such a pain, and I know that trying to work around everything tomorrow to stain is also going to be a pain. So yeah, it's time to relax, eat something at some point, end up passing out, falling asleep, and then wake up tomorrow and try to get some more done. I do have some stuff that I have to get done tomorrow, so I won't have the same amount of time to work, but hopefully I can at least get some stuff out of the way. Alright, I was legit like about to lay down and go to sleep, and I realized that all that other wood is out there leaned against my car, and it is supposed to start snowing at like 6 in the morning. So I need to go find somewhere to put it so it doesn't get buried in snow. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Alright, it is Sunday morning. Just starting to get light outside. It says it's 27 degrees and it says it's snowing right now, but I haven't seen any snow out the window yet. I'm looking at like the windshield on the cars and stuff, and I don't see anything. So I'm gonna get ready for the day. By the time I'm ready, should be decently light out, depending on how cloudy it is and everything. And I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this staining, and because once I put that wood in there, I didn't film it last night because I was just exhausted, but I got all that wood back in there, and so now the that piece that I'm working on is like basically all the way up against the one wall, and then the wood, the other wood is coming out, covering up most of the entrance for that side door, so there's not a lot of room to work with in there. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to take that wood back out, which I'm not looking forward to because it's just so damn big and heavy. Plus it's gonna be snowing, so I don't want it getting covered in snow, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But for right now, time to take a shower and brush my teeth and all that. So this is where we left off last night, basically. This door actually, I'm not getting fully open. Looks like we had some moisture trickling down and then formed a couple streaks of ice there, so I don't feel like forcing it. And right now not a lot is happening with this door anyway. So you can see these sheets are over here. The one I'm working on is back here, and there's just not a lot of room to work with. You see it goes basically right up against the wall there, right up here to the seats, and then there's some space back there, but obviously I don't want to do a whole lot of standing on there. I mean, I have been, just because there's nowhere else to really go, but even from there I'm not going to be able to stretch all the way here, so plus I need to somehow flip this completely over. So I think I'm going to open up the back, and oh, it has just started snowing. It was supposed to snow this morning and it just started. Alright, so going to figure out what the hell I'm doing. Alright, so my plan is I'm going to take this and just put it against that wood there. I'm going to move the stand down a little bit. Also have to clear out some of the random tools that are right underneath it. And then I'm going to put this wood back on there, just flip the other way around. I'm going to have to get this duct tape off of it as well, because I have to stain the wood, and that's covering part of the top up. Yeah, so the load heater, it was working all night, and it's still just cold in here because there's no insulation or anything yet. So especially now that I got the doors all open and the window was cracked all night because that's where the cord runs in. So yeah, let's get to it. And of course, as I was trying to get it off of the stand in this crowded space, ended up getting that rubber bit there. Just made a big freaking mark on there. So I'm gonna have to wipe that down, and hopefully that comes off decently easy. But now I can slide this further down, and then that way when I put that back up there, I can stain part of it from this side, coming through the other door, stain the other side, and then hopefully we will be basically done with this piece of wood. Alright, it is finally time to do some staining. This is my first time staining anything, so let's see how this goes. Directions say to put the layer on there, and then after maybe 2 or 3 minutes you kind of wipe down any excess stuff, going along the grain, which I assume means going that direction based on where all those lines are, and then you just let it sit for an hour, which I will actually end up letting it sit for probably over an hour because I have somewhere to go after I do this. Alright, so just did the first little corner here, and I gotta say it is looking badass already. I don't know why more people don't do this when they're doing their floors. I see a ton of people do that. They'll put the wood down and then they'll put like that fake wood laminate stuff on top. But this, I mean, I think it looks great already, and this is just the first tiny little step. Alright, so I got maybe like half of it done there. Also did this side here. This is going to be the side that is facing out the side of the van. I would like to do around really just with all the even on the sides where you won't be able to see it all, just for consistency. It's going to be a little bit tricky with the placement currently. So I'm going to see how much more I can reach over here, like that edge there that still needs to be done, and a little bit there, and then move on over to the other side to tackle that. But so far I think it's looking really, really good. Like that's what it started as, this plain old plywood, and now it looks like $1 million in my opinion. So I'm happy with that. Alright, so on the other side here, there's definitely a lot less room over here. I probably should have scooted it down a little bit more. It is tough getting up and down trying to get to the stain there. But it's time to get started on this side and then just let it sit. I don't know how much of the edging I'm gonna be able to do, if that's the correct term, but you know, doing the like sides of it. I definitely got the most important part, which is gonna be where it's showing over there. This side is gonna be butted up against other wood. This side is gonna be up against the wall. This side will be semi-visible because it's gonna be up facing like the front not cargo area, the front cab area. So that will be the second most important side to do besides that one. But it's in a really tough spot right there. There's no room over there. So I think I'm just gonna be doing the top and not even worrying about the sides for the rest of it. Alright, so look at this. I think it looks pretty amazing. So like I said, I didn't do the sides other than the one that's gonna be out by the step because they're just too hard to reach. I could do this one, but this is gonna be up against the wall anyway, and I'd probably end up getting stain all over myself because it's so tight in here. I'm not working with a whole lot of space there, but it looks really, really good. So I am going to just let this sit. As far as the 2 to 3 minute wait time to kind of brush it off or whatever, wipe off the excess, I basically just did that as I went because it took me more than 2 to 3 minutes to do the whole thing. So just as I would, I would do that side and then start working on that side and then brush more from that side over, and basically just kept moving around any build up of the stain, so it was kind of just thinned out the whole time. So I'm just gonna let this sit. Like I said, I have some running around to do, and then I will come back later. And I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do because it's freaking snowing, so I'm not gonna be cutting any more wood today or anything. So who knows? I might just end up just letting this sit here, and that might be kind of it for today. Yeah, I wish I could get more done. Next weekend is President's Day or whatever the holiday is in February, where we'll have a 3-day weekend. So that'll be nice. I think it's going to be crazy cold though again, but I don't know if there's snow in the forecast as of yet, and that could always change. So hopefully then I can get some more work done on everything, having that extra day. But as of right now, I am super happy with the way this turned out. Alright, so something my dumbass just learned today. So when I was using a stain, I would kind of quick wipe off some of the excess on the edge of the can, and that way when I bring it up, it's not dripping all over the place. However, then when you go to put the lid on and smack it out with a hammer, every time you hit it with a hammer, it shoots out all of that excess that you're trying to not make a mess into probably an even bigger mess. So there's stain just all over down there. Not really worried about it, obviously, because everything down there is going to be covered up anyway. Definitely got not all over me, mostly all over the van, I think, although I am wearing black, so I could be wrong. But definitely on my hands and all over the van. But yeah, so I think I am done for right now then. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours and I am back, and this just looks awesome. It definitely smells like something's been stained in here, so I'm glad that I at least have that window cracked over there to air out a little bit, but being gone for a while and having everything closed up, I can smell it. It's intense. So I am going to just leave this alone for right now and head inside and get some stuff done, and then my plan is to at some point take this off the stand and just lean it up against the wood here, insulation side on the wood, just in case there's any more stain that's wet. It won't get on the wood. I mean, the wood's eventually going to get stained anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then I want to screw around with these holes and try to figure out what is blocking up those so I can get the bolts in there. And then maybe if I can get all that going good, then maybe I will actually put this down and put it on there today, so at least one piece will be on there done. And then next weekend I guess I can then start working on cutting the next piece and doing the same stuff to that one. Alright, figure I'd give you guys a view of the snow falling out there on the van. I'm starting to feel a little bit crappy, probably from working out in the cold all weekend again. So I think I'm pretty much done. I'm just bringing in that heater, closing up that window so the snow doesn't get in there, and so that's gonna kind of wrap up this week's episode. And then sometime this week or on Saturday I will mess around with those bolt holes and then get to work on the next section of the floor.